vegetables. You want me to show you a trick to dehydrate vegetables where you don't have to blanch them? All right then, let's go in the kitchen. Put your hair up, wash your hands, grab an apron. I'll see you in there. Okay, so we're all ready to begin. Dehydrating vegetables can be a little tedious sometimes in the fact that many vegetables need to be blanched first. I'll do a video on blanching later, but let me show you a shortcut. Frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables have already been blanched, so dehydrating them is super fast. Let me show you. So on your bottom tray, which this is going to be the tray that's closest to the heater in my dehydrator. On the bottom tray, we're going to want to put a fruit roll, a fruit leather tray. Why do we want to do that? Because frozen vegetables are frozen, so they have water content in them. And so this will catch anything that drips through the trays and make it easier to clean up later. So we're gonna leave the bottom tray just with the fruit roll-up tray and empty. So then all you have to do is decide which of your vegetables that you're dehydrating, and I just have a variety that I got over the weekend, is gonna take the longest because the heater is at the bottom of the Nesco GardenMaster, you want the bigger things closer to the bottom. So I have crinkle cut carrots. So we're just gonna open those with a pair of scissors. Whoops, they're flying everywhere. I'll spread these around on the tray. And you want to pop them apart if they're stuck together. Sometimes a butter knife or a little sharp pointed knife will help with that. Any of them that are stuck together, just kind of wiggle it in there and pop it apart. If you can't, just don't put that one in the dehydrator. There we go. We'll use those in dinner. So you just want to make sure that you're putting them in an even layer, one layer thick. All right, there's one tray. See, mesh liner to keep the little things from falling through. Now, I would like to make a note here. You cannot dehydrate vegetables that have sauces on them. So, like broccoli with cheese sauce, can't defrost or dehydrate that. So you need to stick with vegetables that are in their purest form. Also, you can't dehydrate ones that have seasonings on them, like sometimes they'll have like vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and a squash that has some kind of Asian or other Korean seasoning on it or something. You can't dehydrate those as well because they put oil on those vegetables so that they hold the seasoning and it will not dehydrate correctly. So that's how you get the dehydrator prepped to dehydrate frozen vegetables. I'm going to take these and put them on the Nesco GardenMaster. It'll take between 8 and 12 hours, depending. And I'll come back when they're done and show you what they look like. All right, see you soon. Okay, Sugar Bee, so it's the next day and I pulled the trays from the dehydrator and everything is good and dry. So I'm gonna show you a little bit about how to condition. that's what this part of the video is about. So let's get some of this stuff in the jars, and then we'll talk about conditioning. Well, except for the carrots. We have these in the jars, but there's a couple of things I wanted to point out to you. So we know these are dry because when they're in the jars, listen. If they don't sound like, almost like jingle bells, then they're not completely dry and they should be put back into the dehydrator. So I didn't put the carrots in a jar yet because I wanted to show you how to tell, another way to tell if food is dry. So this is one of the bigger carrots that we stuck on yesterday. If you remember, these were crinkle cut carrots. So it's really hard, like it doesn't bend. It cracks if you get any kind of force on it. So that means that these are dry too. And then there's another way to tell. See how they sound hard? When they hit the counter? All right. So now let's talk about conditioning. So I have the corn in 2 jars, and I didn't fill the jar all the way. There's a reason. And the mixed vegetables in a jar. So first we know they sound crunchy and crispy. So to condition, we're gonna leave these jars sitting here on the counter for 5 days. And every day we're gonna come over, we're gonna shake the jar around. And if it looks like this, it moves freely, it rolls around in the jar easily, then you're good to go. If you come to the jar and you go to shake it and there's a clump stuck at the bottom, then this needs to go back in the dehydrator because there's some moisture still in your food product. And then if you notice any kind of mold growing in there, dump the whole jar in the trash. There's no saving it. Because you may be able to see the mold right here, but you don't know how far those mold spores have moved through the food. So just dump the jar out into the trash or your compost. I would not feed it to animals. And then make sure you sterilize your jar. So you're gonna do that every day for 5 days. Once 5 days is up, I'll combine these 2 jars into one to save space. And then I will put an oxygen absorber, or not oxygen absorber, I will put a silica packet in the top to absorb any extra moisture that might come from heat or light. Again, light and heat and air are enemies of preserved food. So by putting the silica packet in there, any moisture that may still be in something, maybe there's one bean that's not completely dry, it'll suck that moisture right out of it and it'll keep the contents of the jar nice and dry for long-term storage. All right, so how do we use these? Well, guess what? That's in an upcoming video. All right, Sugar Bee, go dehydrate you some vegetables. They're really good and it's really easy. All right, see you soon.